created for top-level international regattas. A light, high-performing racing machine crewed by just 8, with a powerful sail plan. This is no cruiser. It's an out-and-out racer that turns heads. It's the RC44, and this is the 2009 Championship Tour. It all began in March on the volcanic island of Lanzarote. Puerto Calero, a marina on the southwest side of the island, has become a Grand Prix racing and training centre, and the RC44 fleet had been containered down to open the season. The RC44 circuit is unique. It's the only true Pro-Am circuit in the world where both pro sailors and amateur owners get to take charge. It combines match racing, one-on-one combat fought by the pros, and fastest around the course fleet racing, where their owners take command. And the class also combines amateur and professional sailors. Because every team must have 4 of each on board, that brings new talent into top-level sailing and gives pro sailing opportunities to young, emerging talent. Out on the waters of Lanzarote were 8 teams, some experienced, others new. Team Aqua, Cameron Appleton, an America's Cup tactician, is the pro sailor on board, with UAE-based oil trader Chris Bake as the amateur owner. The well-established team has been on the tour for 3 years. This polished group are ones to watch. CIREF, pro sailor Sebastian Coll helms for the match racing, whilst real estate investor Igor La takes the reins for the fleet racing. This understated team finished 2nd overall last year and are on an upward curve in the form guide. Artemis, Team New Zealand's America's Cup winning skipper Dean Barker is the pro helmsman for this team. Torbjörn Tornqvist, a Swedish oil trader and an accomplished sailor in his own right, will battle it out during the fleet racing. Although this is a relatively new team, there is pedigree all round. BMW Oracle Racing. 3-time America's Cup winner and class founder Russell Coutts is the pro on board. But Larry Ellison, the CEO of the Oracle Corporation, helms for both the match and fleet racing, and himself has a strong sailing pedigree. Skilled and aggressive, this team will fight hard. Team Organica. Karol Jablonski skippered the Spanish team in the last America's Cup and will helm the Polish boat during the match racing. Maciej Nawrocki, an investment businessman from Poland, will take control of the amateur side of the racing. Jablonski is new to this established lineup, who hope his experience will lift them up the leaderboard. No way back. Ray Davies, Team New Zealand's America's Cup tactician, will take the wheel for the match racing. Dutchman Peter Herremar, whose business is in offshore construction, will steer for the fleet racing. This new team have set their sights on a top 5 finish by the end of the season. And the home side, Islas Canarias Puerto Calero. Jose Maria Ponce, Spanish match racing champion, is the pro skipper for this team, with real estate developer Daniel Calero as the amateur. They're new to the circuit, and hoping their home waters advantage will help them compete at the front. Sebastian Coll has won RC44 regattas and showed killer form. The Frenchman from CIREF made his mark on the class once again, claiming top spot in the match racing, whilst the steady and experienced hand of oil trader Chris Bake steered Team Aqua to a win in the fleet racing, which, combined with their 2nd place in the match racing, gave the Aqua team the overall event victory. April, and the fleet headed to the Mediterranean and set up in Cagliari, Sardinia. But the sunny skies of Puerto Calero seemed just distant memories as the rain pounded down and light winds made the racing tactically challenging on day 1. But day 2 dawned with a more promising outlook and the match racing continued. Not perturbed by the conditions, the pro sailors got stuck into each other, and it was business as usual.
We made it tough on ourselves today, but we never expected it to be any easier or harder than it was. It's just about being clean and smooth from the onboard side on our own boat, and you know, if you make fewer mistakes, then you generally can win matches.
They hit the top mark, so they had a penalty, and then they just had a bit of a moment, and felt us on the run, so got a second penalty and had to then take that straight away. So yeah, it sort of made the race a bit easier for us after that.
As expected at this level of competition, the results were tight. America's Cup sailor Dean Barker on board Artemis showed his class to win all 8 of his matches. Behind Barker, the following positions weren't nearly as clear-cut.
Artemis had a fantastic match racing series. They won all 8 of their races and sailed tremendously well. And then there was a 3-way tie for second with 3 of the boats on 5 points. The racing's fantastic.
The difficult weather conditions continued as the fleet racing got underway. Light, shifty winds made it tough on the water and put the tacticians under extra pressure.
What we do as tacticians, we have to look for where the breeze fills in. And when it's light, it's very shifty. So you really have to play with what you're seeing, what's coming up next, and you have to look in advance where the next wind shift will come, from the left, from the right side. So you have to always be one step forward to get into the right position.
Team Aqua's oil trader Chris Bake and BMW Oracle Racing's entrepreneur Larry Ellison managed to read the conditions better than others and ended up tied at the top of the table. But on countback, it was Larry Ellison and his team who took home the overall silverware.
The team did a great job. Russell's a fantastic tactician. It was great to have all that support. We were sailing better every day, and we were able to win the overall regatta, so we're quite happy.
Round 3, and the boats were shipped inland to Lake Trounsey, the freshwater home of Team Austria, who joined the class in Cagliari.
This part of Austria is very popular for beautiful mountains and lakes, and very popular in sailing. And it's very important for this area to have such good sailors here and boats and events like this.
The beauty of this location belied a whole new sailing mentality for the RC44 crews. Lake sailing can be very challenging to master.
The difference between lake sailing and sea sailing is a geographical placement of lakes are surrounded by mountains in this case, and land, and so you get this activity of breeze that can be pushed and driven off the land from either side, and it sort of comes in the middle and fights, where in the sea you have a lot bigger open body of water, and as the land heats up it can draw in the breeze. You try to predict ahead of time what you're seeing, if it's real or not, or if it's going to disappear before you get to it. So the puffs drop in down off the hills in the lake, and basically, from there you just got to hope for the best.
But Appleton and his team hardly missed a beat on the lake, dominating the match racing series, dropping only 1 race. But mountain weather patterns are notoriously unpredictable, and after the light and fluky winds, suddenly there was carnage, as for the first time on the tour this year, the crews faced wipeout conditions.
It was like a crazy roller coaster.
At one point we must have been doing 21, 22 knots, spray flying, boat right on the edge. It was great, a lot of fun.
It was completely different, was a little bit tough, but fun at the same time.
I think this was one of the moments why we are sailing. because on our boat, when everything was happening, everybody was yelling and somehow enjoying it. Also, it was a bit dangerous, but it was really cool.
The big wind was a baptism of fire into the fleet racing, but it didn't last for long. No Way Back, with pro sailor Ray Davies on board, took the fleet racing win. But Team Aqua's pro sailor Cameron Appleton had already notched up a first in the match racing, whilst Chris Bake managed a third in the fleet racing. The experienced pairing were becoming a formidable force, and Team Aqua claimed another event victory.
It was very, very close. And obviously you got a lot of good sailors here, and you know, the level keeps getting pushed.
So after 3 events, Team Aqua had secured a 5-point lead over Artemis and BMW Oracle Racing, who were tied in second place. But with 3 events to go, even a large margin at the halfway stage was not safe. Halfway through the 2009 RC44 season, and the fleet set up on the shores of Lake Garda, Italy, the second inland venue on the tour. This picturesque location is famous for its consistent winds. It's a racing sailor's Central European mecca.
Lake Garda is one of the most beautiful sailing areas in the world. The wind is guaranteed. In the morning, in the afternoon, you can just pick whatever you want and get the most out of the sailing hours.
The match racing rounds were kicked off in variable conditions, and while the pro sailors battled on without hesitation, the shifty air was making it difficult for the race committee to set the course and get a full round robin of races completed.
The thunderstorms just destroyed whatever hope we had of any kind of breeze filling back in, and that was it. It took us, you know, we were in here for about 3 hours waiting, and it never materialized.
As the sun set on the final day of the match racing, Reggio and his team abandoned further racing, which left the table in a tie-break situation.
Artemis and us had a really good series. We both were on 5 wins each, and then going into this last day, we started very early in the morning to try and make the most of the breeze, which was a good call as it's turned out, because that was the only good racing all day.
It's an unfortunate way for us to win on a countback. Fortunately for us, the situation I think has played out in our favour.
Unusually for Lake Garda, the winds failed to clock on, but it didn't stop a new Chinese team checking into the series, led by one of China's most experienced sailors.
Molchestiny is the first time, and I was overwhelmed by the hospitality. The other thing I found most unusual is that everyone came to our help in boat handling, how to set up the boat, which doesn't happen too often elsewhere. And that one, for someone who's new coming in, it's a tremendous help.
The DHL Trophy, the distance race in each regatta that scores double points, was a spectacular affair on Lago di Garda. A stunning backdrop combined with a fresh mountain breeze made for a jaw-dropping sight for Italian locals. Frank Pong's team struggled to find form here, but learned quickly how to make an RC44 sing. But up ahead, and sitting firmly at the top, were Dean Barker and Torbjörn Tornqvist, who won both their rounds. The regatta emphatically belonged to Artemis and the Pro-Am duo that was bonding as a fast unit.
1-1-1. Well done, man. Oh, I'm very happy. Obviously, very, very happy. I think we now sail together. We have learned the boat. It takes a little bit of time to understand how to sail it. I think it's, well, truly remarkable.
October, and the penultimate regatta took Grand Prix racing into Porto Ros on the Slovenian coastline. The points at the top of the table were beginning to take a decisive shape, and attention was beginning to focus on the overall tour result. Team Aqua was leading the Fleet Series, but with 2 more teams joining the proceedings here, the permutations were about to get more complicated. Katusha, with sailing legend Paul Kayard at the wheel, and local team Modri Gaj, skippered by Olympic sailor Gaspar Vencek, boosted the fleet size to 11 boats, bringing with it a tougher match race schedule where each boat must race each other.
We successfully completed the 2 mini round robins, so we have 2 winners, 2 second, 2 third, and we need to break those ties. So we have to go straight to the final. Of course, it's a great issue, and we are happy to have those problems, and it's already solved for the future.
After the round-robin series, Katusha was up against Organica for the match racing final. It was 1 apiece in a best-of-3 decider, but Paul Kayard and his Russian team sailed a near-perfect race and claimed the victory. An impressive win on the team's first outing.
It's better than expected, really. A brand new team. We've been sailing together 2 days now, racing together for 2 days, so we had a good couple days on the water, so it's a very nice way to start the Katusha team's participation in the RC44 class.
The first cross he was ahead, and it was very difficult to come back. The race course was very short, and that is very difficult to come back.
The second half of the Slovenian series was highlighted by the DHL Trophy race. For the first time since the big breeze of Lake Transi, the amateur helmsman had to take on the winds and waves of Portoroz.
It's super. It's a lot of fun. I would like a race with a 30-mile reach like that.
I felt all my muscles at the end. It's pretty hard to steer because the rudder is really full, but somehow great sailing.
I didn't expect that there were so many waves and the waves were that big, so it was pretty good.
We're very happy with the day. We're happy with the way we ended the fleet racing, pleased with the way we've been sailing, how the team has worked together, so it feels good too, really good.
Swedish oil trader Torbjörn Törnqvist took the DHL win, but it was just the beginning. He also went on to win the fleet racing with a race to spare. No Way Back took the event win with a better combination of match and fleet racing. But it was Artemis's impressive fleet race performance that pushed them up the overall rankings. As the penultimate event drew to a close, Artemis was closing on Team Aqua in the overall championship rankings, and a compelling fight to the last event was shaping up. The Sea Dubai Gold Cup, the final stage of the RC44 Championship Tour. The fleet had been transported to the Middle East to battle it out on the Persian Gulf. And at the top of the leaderboard, no one was comfortable. There were 2 teams going head-to-head for the overall victory.
Well, it's quite an interesting thing at the moment. We're leading match racing, the fleet racing and the DHL, but we're second overall for the season behind Aqua.
The final event is double points, so it pretty much puts both teams even, with No Way Back having an outside chance of taking the top spot.
Aqua sort of stole a bit of a march on everyone, and we've, second half of the season, as we've improved, got better in the boat and things, we've managed to close the gap right up.
They've got a very strong core team with Dean and his Team New Zealand guys.
They know the boats inside out, they're always fast, they typically sail very well.
It's certainly something that'll be a huge achievement, and we'll be absolutely pleased with if we can finish it off in style.
We sort of had glimpses of brilliance, and then at times we just weren't consistent enough, and the key to this class is consistency throughout the season.
But as the match racing got underway, Lady Luck wasn't shining on either of the 2 favourites.
One of the steering cables jumped off the cog, and so we had no steering using the wheels, so he had to steer the whole race with the emergency tiller, and it's pretty challenging. The thing's just a hunk of aluminium, it's about 1 metre long, so yeah, it's pretty sort of pretty compromised at that point.
Very plain and simple. I went for an aggressive duck to try and take control of the start and the side of the racecourse, and we ended up just hitting him about probably half a foot short of the end of his boat.
With this final event counting for double points, the two top match racers were sliding fast down the table, while newcomer Rod Davies, the new pro sailor on board Sea Ref, took the match racing win. As the fleet racing started, there was one consistent team that was beginning to shine, and it wasn't either of the pre-regatta series leaders. Peter Herrema, the engineer from the Netherlands, was giving the fleet a sailing lesson. Clocking up consistent results in windward-leeward races, he was also determined to win the DHL trophy. As the fleet made their way up the coastline, No Way Back were leading. As they reached the turning mark off the stunning Atlantis Hotel, their lead had opened up. Spinnakers were hoisted, and as the fleet made their way towards the finish, the processional course made it hard for any other team to challenge No Way Back. As they entered the harbour and crossed the finish line, this team were aware that suddenly, from being outsiders a few days earlier, they were in with a chance of toppling the big guns.
We're creeping up and, well, maybe a bit more than creeping. I think we're thundering up there.
The final day of the championship tour dawned, and Peter Herrema's team were now leading the overall standings. But Chris Bake, sailing on home waters, and Artemis with a new amateur skipper at the helm were both right in the running. A two-way fight had become a three-way battle. No Way Back started fast and posted a second. Artemis was fourth and Team Aqua a distant eighth. The second race was less successful for No Way Back, with both Team Aqua and Artemis finishing ahead of them. But on points, they had done enough. And with one race to spare, the boat from the Netherlands took the overall championship tour win. A great result for the team that had only started sailing together at the beginning of the 2009 season.
Nice one, boys! We've won overall now, so for the whole season, everything's come together really well. We had a couple of tough races and had to come back from behind, and the guys have done a really good job of keeping their composure the whole regatta, and so just thrilled with the way the team's developed through the year and then finish it off with a big high.
It's a super feeling. It's really, everybody's extreme. Of course, when you win, you're happy, but we're extremely happy. We started 10 months ago, and we were last in the fleet race. In Cagliari, we were last as well. And people were saying, "Oh, yeah, you have to be patient. It takes 2-3 years," but I wouldn't accept that.